What challenges, if any, come about when spiritual concepts mash with the fast-paced capitalist society, specifically American society, culture, and ideals? A published article written in 2020 by a student at the time at Sacred Heart University, Michael Araujo, titled Capitalism and New Age, gives a compelling argument on how New Age spirituality is actually being used to maintain capitalism and the globalization of capitalism, as well as create a culture of individualism as opposed to a culture of community in America. Araujo writes, "We currently live in a rapidly evolving globalized world where the religious landscape is quickly changing. It is a religious landscape where New Age spirituality remains popular while mainline religion is on the decline. During all this, capitalism has continued to be ingrained in every facet of society as the default way of thinking about economics in the West. This trend away from mainline religion is a major part of the growth of secularism in the West. In this essay, I will show that our capitalist system maintains and fosters New Age spirituality. I will prove this by explaining how New Age religion is able to resolve the strain and dissonance between Christianity and capitalism by acting as a capitalism-friendly collection of spiritual beliefs. I will cover the mechanisms by which capitalism uses, maintains, and promotes New Age spirituality. Lastly, I will connect New Age spirituality and capitalism to secularism and discuss whether New Age spirituality is able to withstand the forces of secularization in the West. I believe this is an especially important topic for Catholic universities because if this is true, how can Catholic universities, which function as capitalist corporations and have a vested interest in making a profit, keep their Catholic identity while still operating under a system that runs contrary to that identity? Araujo also writes, "Capitalism breeds an individualistic mindset. This is due to capitalism's emphasis on placing individual goals over the collective good. And New Age spirituality is generally a highly individualistic belief system, mainly due to its emphasis on the self. Because of its emphasis on individualism, New Age spirituality puts up no fight against prevailing capitalist values. New Age practices are so heavily individualistic, in part because they are tailor-made and sold to aid in individual spiritual growth." Farias and Lalji, forgive me if I mispronounce those names, described this well when they said New Age practices and beliefs are in harmony with the modern individualistic emphasis on the self. In the context of our culture, it is impossible to think of a self that is more autonomous or free, more in control or powerful, more responsible, more perfect, more internalized, more expressivistic than that presented in various New Age discourses. An example of this would be the focus on self-help, self-care, and self-discovery. These practices are rooted in improvement coming not from the community, a sense of solidarity or unity, but strictly from interior satisfaction. This is reinforced by a form of radical tolerance and subjectivity where the consumer can form their own personal belief system. In New Age spirituality, even truth is subject to market forces. Individualism is taken to its ultimate conclusion in New Age spirituality. One spiritual belief can be true for one believer, while at the same time a different belief can be true for another. Ritual, then, is tailored towards the individual goal above all else. In a hyper-individualistic and disconnected society, uniqueness, quote-unquote, and identity, quote-unquote, are placed in high regard, and New Age beliefs can provide these. Previously, non-individualistic belief systems, many of the belief systems New Age spirituality appropriated can be turned individualistic through commodification, which I will talk about next. Araujo is saying that New Age spirituality and spiritual concepts are essentially appropriated concepts to begin with and emphasize and promote a culture of self above a culture of community. Because of this, it is easily corruptible by capitalism because capitalism thrives on the culture of the individual above the culture of community. Capitalism needs individuals to be so isolated from other people that they believe others to be separate from them. They need individuals to be competitive with other individuals in order for the economy to flow and function under capitalism. Nothing is divine and sacred in capitalist culture. Everything is made a commodity in a culture of community where people value real human connection and keep the divine divine and the sacred sacred. There is no one competing to win over the other, and so the flow of the economy is not as strong. In a culture of real community where people celebrate the earth, where people celebrate nature, garden, and cultivate the environment, bridge social gaps through collaboration and radical acceptance of each other, where the emphasis is placed on building social environments and landscapes that create and promote a sense of belonging, connection to the earth and each other, where people value and respect our differences in cultures and languages and make space for these differences to exist and thrive, where people promote peace and love and sustainable living and access to free health care and education and real food grown from gardens and food that is truly healthy for people's bodies and souls, where people are spiritually conscious, where living organisms in our environment benefit from unpolluted, uncontaminated, clean water and air, fertile soil and biodiversity, where community-based support and community-led violence prevention programs are provided as solutions to violence and misconduct instead of incarceration, imprisonment, policing, surveillance, mass criminalization, and deportation, where we approach social issues such as oppression through an intersectional lens and tackle injustices through and by equitable means, and so much more that has to do with prioritizing and valuing life, growth, nature, health, arts, creativity, diversity, spirituality, peace, justice, community engagement, and inclusion instead of valuing economic gain, social statuses, and profiting off of power imbalances, war, oppressions, natural resources, and social injustices. When we keep the divine divine and the sacred sacred without commodifying them, we are threatening the capitalist system. So this new age spirituality has become a kind of tool to divide and conquer and control people on an individual and larger scale. It is difficult to control people when they are aware and united in a community, when they do not discriminate amongst themselves but instead respects and honors each other's differences.